It's Kaufman is Alive YouTube channel. I look at comic books new and old. Today I'm looking at an old comic book, GI Joe, A Real American Hero #1 by Marvel Comics. This originally came out back in 1982, but I'm looking at the Skybound Comics reprint that came out a year ago, back in November of 2023. So Skybound Comics is an imprint of Image Comics. It's run by Robert Kirkman from Walking Dead and Invincible. And he recently started the Energon universe, which connects the GI Joe comics to the Transformer comics and a few other titles as well. And they've actually kept the numbering going from the Marvel comics. IDW actually, to their credit, kept the numbering going as well when they had the license to GI Joe from the Marvel comics. And now the Skybound GI Joe, A Real American Hero, has also kept the numbering going. So we're up to almost like issue 310 at this point. But a year ago, Skybound, as I said, they reprinted the original first issue of GI Joe. So, and this is a really cool comic book. It was $3.99 when it came out. They've got the original cover here with the logo, all the original lettering, even the Comics Code Authority logo up there. And it's actually printed on newsprint paper too, which is a really nice addition to this book. So it gives it that classic feel for sure. Another really cool thing about this book, as it's written by Larry Hama, who you might know his work from Wolverine, his most popular work. The artist here is Herb Trimpe, which you might know from the Hulk. That's what I know him from the most. Bob McLeod is the inker. We got Jim Novak as letterer. Glynis Wein is the colorist, and Tom DeFalco and Jim Shooter are the editors here. But the cool thing about this book is that there is a line that got changed by Marvel Comics when this originally got printed. And Larry Hama talks about it here on this page. He says, "But the main error that has stuck in my craw since 1982 has been the Hawk speech that was rewritten by editorial without my knowledge, which cast a completely different light on the core ethics of the group than I had intended. It led many to assume that I was something I was not, a jingoistic hardliner. I am extremely grateful to the good folks at Skybound and Hasbro for restoring my original copy in this new reprint of A Real American Hero #1. So, and that's from Larry Hama, which he wrote last year. And we'll get into this book here. It's called Operation Lady Doomsday. It's a Stan Lee Presents GI Joe comic. And obviously GI Joe is the licensed product here that they're just using to sell toys, and they're using comic books as well to sell those toys and to sell the cartoon. But this comic book definitely has a different feel than the cartoon. Sort of has a bit of the camp, but it's really just a story about this military squad that's going up against this terrorist organization. So, and we don't see a lot of like laser beams and things like that you would see in the cartoon. They seem to just be using real guns and real weapons. There's real drama and a real threat of violence and like death in this comic book. So we've got all these guys in black suits trying to protect this woman who has all the nuclear secrets. And she's actually viewed as a traitor in the media and to most of the American people at this point, because she could give her secrets up at any point to anybody. And she's been kidnapped here by Cobra. We get the Baroness here. They're taking people out left and right as Cobra hijacks this train. But we do get, some little campy things that you might get in a cartoon still, as like Baroness throws the woman out of the plane with a parachute on her to get picked up by this Cobra helicopter. So it's pretty wacky. So really detailed art though. here by Herb Trimpe. And there's a really nice plot too here by Larry Hama. I mean, they're not just skimping on this title just because it's some licensed product. We've got the military here who's trying to figure out what to do about this this woman, this nuclear scientist who's been kidnapped. So these two generals are talking. Burkhart is in the hands of Cobra Command. They have the technology and the will to use it. So this general says, their threat doesn't make any sense, sir. We'd almost be better off, national security wise, if we attempted a rescue, bungle it, and Cobra terminates her. So I love how, like, immediately as we enter the government facility here and getting the dialogue, Larry Hama is showing that these guys are have no problem having these missions go bad in order to justify their means. So the other general says, don't believe it, General Flagg. We're in a double bind. We can't let Cobra keep her long enough to use her, and we can't let her die because the whole world knows that we consider her an embarrassment. Our only possible course of action is a successful rescue. It won't be easy. Cobra has legions, well-trained and equipped with all the latest hardware. A direct frontal assault could turn into a bloodbath for our boys. So they put together this special squad team, the GI Joe Special Counter-Terrorist Group. We actually get like all the characters down here on this computer screen. There's Hawk, Zap, Scarlet, Grand Slam, Clutch, Snake Eyes is there. Everybody that shows up here is on the screen. Get their training down here as well. Start learning a little bit about each of the team members. The dialogue's good because it kind of introduces you to each of the personalities of the team members here. Like, we get them talking to Snake Eyes here, and they ask him, how's that sit with you, Snake Eyes? And he doesn't even answer at all. So you really see, if you've seen The Boys or read the Boys comic, how Snake Eyes is a lot like Black Noir. So, and the fact that he looks like him and he doesn't talk. So that's what I immediately thought of when I was looking through this. So they find out where Cobra is hiding this Dr. Burkhart, who's the nuclear scientist. And we get like all the tactics that they're going to be going through to try and infiltrate this Cobra Citadel. It's pretty intricate, like war maneuvering. It's really interesting stuff. Something you might not expect. So this is when we get the rewritten dialogue by Marvel Comics that rewrote Larry Hama's script here without his knowledge. So he's pretty much just saying that they took a constitutional oath. Every citizen has the right to disagree with the government. And he says, or Scarlet replies, Snake Eyes is signaling that he wants to know, how can the rights of an individual compare to the safety of the entire world? Wouldn't a B-52 bombing raid solve this problem with less risk? So Duke says, no, we're the good guys. Remember, the island has a civilian population. Besides, it's not our job to judge Dr. Burkhart. What is our job? We're soldiers. Our job is to do the unthinkable. And this is the part that Marvel rewrote. They rewrote it to, and look good doing it. Larry Hama originally had it, our job is to do the unthinkable and be forgotten. So there you have them. They've got that humble streak. They're actually acting like noble soldiers there. So, but Marvel wanted them to be more flashy, look more like a flashy superhero team, I suppose. So kind of interesting and pretty cool that Skybound reprinted this in the way that Larry Hama intended it. So then we get Cobra Commander. He's got the Dr. Burkhart here as their prisoner. We got the Baroness here as well. She just wants to kill the doctor. And the doctor thinks that they're all just going to get bombed immediately, because that'd be the easiest course of action for the military at this point. But Cobra Commander knows that that's not what they're going to do. And he tells the Baroness that he has no plans to kill Dr. Burkhart yet. And we go through all the strikes here by GI Joe. Cobra's trying to keep them from entering this castle that they've got. So the Joes, they actually change the frequencies on the radars so Cobra can't see that the Joes are coming. But Cobra, they've got these decoy planes that the Joes take out, so each side has their own little subterfuge that they're trying to use on the others. Snake Eyes and Scarlet are trying to sneak in covertly themselves, and they're taking people out one by one. This is a really cool page right here with Snake Eyes and Scarlet sneaking in. I love all the texture here on the ground and the staircase here. Baroness, she wants to know the master plan. But Cobra Commander won't give it to her just yet. The assault team lands here, and then finally Cobra Commander, he takes Dr. Burkhart out of there as he anticipated the Joes entering his castle like they did. So the Joes, they go after Dr. Burkhart on her on this car that they took her out on, but it turns out that it's actually Baroness. So again, Cobra Commander gets one up on the Joes there. They continue battling, and Scarlet and Snake Eyes are here. They finally got to Dr. Burkhart, and they're waiting on Hawk's team, but he's taking a little bit too long here. Cobra Commander dons his battle helmet as well. So they trap Scarlet and Snake Eyes in here so that the Joes can't come in. But they quickly do break down the door anyway. Scarlet gets Cobra Commander's wrist with this flying shooting star that she throws at him. And they rescue Dr. Burkhart, even though she gets shot in the arm here by Cobra Commander as she causes the distraction. And that's pretty much the end of the issue here. All their stuff gets blown up. All their tanks, their jeeps, the motorcycles of this original team, as the entire Cobra castle blows up. But it's a pretty cool issue. I mean, we get a whole complete story here in this first issue of GI Joe, and it has a real military-esque feel. It doesn't feel much like the cartoon in a sense, so. And it has really great artwork, pretty good dialogue as well, as I would say. We get this great shot of the pit, which is GI Joe's command center, everything that goes into it. We also get a backup story here. It's also written by Larry Hama. Don Perlin is the writer. The artwork is not as good in this story as the Herb Trimpe issue. I almost wonder if this was originally intended as a first issue and it didn't quite hold up, so they had a whole new issue reprinted, and then they just threw this in as a backup story, or maybe they always intended to have two backup stories in the GI Joe comics. I'm not too sure. I also noticed there aren't any original ads in this reprinted issue, like you might see in some other modern reprints. We do get a preview of the Duke series by Skybound that came out last year. I did do a review of this entire series on my channel, so go check that out if you haven't yet. This was a really awesome series at the start of the new Energon universe here. We get a couple GI Joe weapon files as well on the back pages. These are probably just originally in the issue, I would imagine, at some point, and they just kind of reprinted them for the back cover, which is pretty cool. We get the Vamp and the Mobat vehicles. So I was a big fan of GI Joe when I was a child, and these comics hold up. I feel like the Skybound ones are really great. I've got some IDW issues as well, and some of the early Marvel ones, and they're always really fun comic books. So I highly recommend checking out GI Joe, A Real American Hero. And next month they're relaunching a new GI Joe #1 at Skybound, so looking forward to that as well. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys on the next one.